Video games often present us with deep moral dilemmas to see what we'd do. Would we ultimately defeat a boss and end its life, thus bringing closure to the story? Or would we spare their lives, perhaps being better than the villains who shaped us? Whatever the case may be, some bosses can just die without you touching them. Whether it's from the story events or the power of speech, here are video game bosses that died without you laying so much as a finger on them. NATLA, Tomb Raider Underworld. NATLA is a weird case because you do sort of have a boss fight with her in the base game. However, NATLA's actual death comes in the Lara's Shadow DLC, when players control the doppelganger. After some convoluted twists and turns, the doppelganger sabotages the machine that NATLA is recuperating in, thus causing the latter to be pinned by debris among rising Aether. It's kind of strange, because the player didn't really do anything, nor does the player control Lara through all this, and it's implied that NATLA dies from the flooding eventually. The Master, Fallout. A classic example of do it and you're cool. The end boss of the first Fallout can be defeated with a few speech checks. A full frontal battle against the Master is tough, but if you gather a few items and ask some questions in the right order, you can convince the super mutant leader to off himself. Of course, it's also possible to detonate a nuke and not fight the Master at all while you escape his lair. Lucien, Fable 2. Lucien kills your family in Fable 2 and is generally a jerk. While he goes about doing his evil business, you get the option to kill him at one climactic point. Then again, if you choose not to or dilly-dally for too long, Reaver will kill him instead. On the one hand, he's a no-good kill stealer who mocks you, but on the other hand, it's good enough for our list. KONRAD, Spec Ops: The Line. The KONRAD that Walker has to deal with throughout Spec Ops: The Line is pretty much in his head. No, seriously. KONRAD is a hallucination created by Walker in trying to rationalize the white phosphorus strike that killed civilians earlier in the game. The real KONRAD is nothing but a corpse on the penthouse deck who ended his life following the initial failed evacuation. What you decide to do about the KONRAD in Walker's head is a different matter entirely. Chris Walker, OUTLAST. Chris Walker relentlessly pursues Miles through OUTLAST, and while it seems like he loves suffering, Chris is actually more concerned with the wall rider not escaping. However, near the end, when it seems like Chris will finally kill Miles, the wall rider intervenes and absolutely destroys him. It's kind of sad, especially when the wall rider does eventually find his way out, or so it seems. Nishiki, Yakuza. Akira Nishikiyama, or Nishiki, used to be friends with Kiryu, the protagonist of the series, before eventually going against him over Yumi, who actually loves Kiryu. Naturally, with such tension, their final meeting could only end in a shirtless battle of martial arts. Kiryu eventually emerges victorious, but Jingu proceeds to shoot Yumi while trying to kill Kiryu. This causes Nishiki to feel remorse. He stabs Jingu and blows up the 10 billion yen he worked so hard towards, just to save Kiryu. Sebastian LACROIX, Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. There are several possible endings to Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, but in some of them, Sebastian LACROIX, the arrogant vampire boss, doesn't die by your hands. For instance, allying with Sebastian will see you both open the ancient sarcophagus together and promptly die by explosives that Jack planted. Dormouse and March, Alice, Madness Return. The rambunctious pair may seem difficult, especially given the imposing mech they bring to this fight. Plus, the Mad Hatter is sort of whisked away before it begins. However, a giant teapot will land on the mech's head during the fight, thus causing it to be dismantled. It's anticlimactic and hilarious in a way, though we did honestly expect a bit more. Let's Shake, No More Heroes. Make no mistake, though his brain was transplanted in the Earthquake Maker in the sequel, Let's Shake absolutely dies in No More Heroes. However, that isn't because of Travis, who rushes at him during the preparatory cutscene. Instead, it's Travis's brother, Henry, who descends from the sky, slashes the Earthquake Maker in half, and then kills Let's Shake in one swift motion. MB, Metroid Other M. Talk about a laughably bad fight. All Samus does is aim at MB, the final boss, and the Federation's soldiers immediately enter the lab. From there, MB will summon various creatures to battle, which Samus contends with. It's still Madeline who freezes her shortly before the Federation commences execution via hail of bullets. That's right, Samus did nothing to MB throughout. Fortune, Metal Gear Solid 2. Call it luck or psychic power, but Fortune's ability to prevent bullets from harming her comes from an electromagnetic device that the Patriots created. Though Raiden does fight her at some point, her end comes when Revolver Ocelot shoots her in the chest. Fortune does save Raiden, Snake, and Solidus from missiles launched by Metal Gear Ray thanks to her psychic powers before finally dying. Harry Shi Wong, Dead Rising 3. Sure, you beat up Shi, who represents wrath among the 7 psychopaths in Dead Rising 3, but it's mostly just knocking him around. After lamenting his lot in life, including how his wife left him for a guy that sells refrigerators, Shi proceeds to chop off his own head. This was sort of a precursor to some of the crazier things that the psychopaths would dole out to the player. JIHL NABAAT, Final Fantasy XIII. JIHL has quite the villainous presence in Final Fantasy XIII, including taking away Daj, Saz's son, before manipulating Saz and attempting to use his son as a memorial. This doesn't lead to a big boss fight where JIHL takes her whipping though. Instead, she's summarily killed by her boss, Galanth Disley. Though she does appear as a Colosseum opponent in Final Fantasy XIII 2's DLC, JIHL was pretty much a footnote in 13's story. General Scales, StarFox Adventures. Behold, one of the most forgettable StarFox and rare villains of all time. General Scales was painted as the big bad responsible for Dinosaur Planet's plight. However, when you actually engage in a duel with Scales, the fight is interrupted before it even begins, and he's killed by Andross. The game then culminates in an epic R-Wing battle. Yay, we suppose.
And that'll be about it for this one. If you guys like what we're doing at GamingBolt, please consider subscribing to our channel, and I'll see you guys on the next video.